2 days ago.
So far, so good.
Okay.
We're 7 seconds in.
Okay.
Here we go. Take 2.
Welcome to the Thin Blue Line podcast, episode 9. So I'm here with Josh and Michael, who went with me to Oklahoma noodling last week. So from that, Josh, since you're excited with the equipment, we'll have you start out with your intro and then go ahead and go kind of give your background if you have fished before and what's your biggest fish and so forth and so on.
Well, I have fished before, but I did never keep track of my size of fish that I've caught. Background is basically just growing up as a kid fishing with my grandparents, as well as went to a trip in Canada and fished there for a week once when I was in high school. So that's basically my fishing history. About me, I live here in Canton, work with Cody at the local police department, and
He's actually one of my bosses, so
might be one of his bosses.
if I get yelled at, let me know.
But yeah, Cody convinced me to go here, so it was a good time.
Go ahead, Michael.
So I've basically been working here for about 8 years with these guys as a police officer. As far as a fishing history, basically grew up fishing with my family through high school, a little bit in college. About biggest fish I've probably caught is 5 to 10 pound catfish or something, maybe nothing huge. But haven't really done a lot of fishing in probably the last 9 or 10 years. So that's kind of where I've been.
So, I did talk about Michael on this trip, talked to him about it last summer. Unfortunately, it was too late in the summer before we could plan something. So I brought it back up this spring, and I'll let Michael start here on what your initial thoughts was. Like, hey, let's go catch catfish with our bare hands.
All right. So right off the bat last year, I was all for it. It looked great, looked cool. The more research I did, I actually got really scared. The more I looked into it, it got kind of terrifying, and I was actually planning to back out when he asked me this year, 100%. I was like, I'm just going to tell him no and kind of blindside him with a no. And then when he ended up asking me, he had a couple other guys saying, yeah, they're going to do it. I'm like, God, I can't say no now. So I basically just sucked it up and thought I'm going to go do it. And once everyone else started telling me they were too scared to do it, then I was like, no, now I really have to do it just to prove them I'm braver than everybody. So basically got myself all excited and got myself all hyped up, and the more I watched more videos, the more excited I got to go do it. And as it got closer to it the day of, and you can see in the videos, I'm super pumped the whole day. I was excited, and he definitely got me pumped, and it was a great trip, so I was excited for it.
Josh, what about you on that?
Well, I just found out about it through Michael while I was working. I wasn't directly invited. I kind of, did that sounds interesting. And it was hey, well, if you're interested, I can't believe you'd want to go, but you're welcome to go. So I've heard of noodling before, never done it, thought about it. And then when I heard there's going to be a guide service with us, I thought this is the time to try it.
Yep, so like I said on the last podcast, we went with Adrenaline Rush Noodling Guide Service, Nathan Williams. Ended up being a real cool guy. I think we had everybody nervous, especially Josh and then Mike's wife, Adrienne, because we're in the middle of nowhere, haven't ever met this guy.
Well, let's start off with, Cody had no information. We already were in Oklahoma and had no idea when we were going, where we were going, or I didn't even know if he knew his name, to be honest. But yeah, so like 8 o'clock at night, the night before we were supposed to go fishing, noodling, we finally got some plans. So,
which he did tell me, hey, I'll tell you the day or two before. Well, the night before, it's about the same thing. So
I'm just blaming you on this one, not Nate.
Fair enough. I'll take it. But ended up being a good trip. We already broke it down a little bit on the first podcast about it, but we're going to keep talking about it because I want to hear their perspectives. And yeah, so we started out walking down this creek, getting dropped off by Nate's wife, and within the first hour, Nate found a hole with fish in it, and the girls were up first. So I don't care who wants to break this down first on your guys' end.
Well, funniest part about this was the fact that when we were in the truck on the way over there, we all basically voluntold Cody, our mastermind behind this trip, that he was going first and he was sticking his arm in the first hole because we weren't going to do it. And very first hole we come to, guide Nate is telling us, like, this is the easiest hole of the day. Whoever is the most nervous or thinks they're going to have the most trouble should get on this one. So we put both the girls up in it, which was the funniest and best experience, honestly. Basically because the very first hole, the most shallow one, we're all thinking, oh, they're going to pull out a little 10 to 15 pounder, like something easy if it's that shallow of a hole. Freaking girls pull out a catfish that's bigger than they are, I think. Thing was just a monster. Mm-hmm. I think every single one of us had adrenaline just rushing, like as soon as we saw that sucker come out. I know Adrienne panicked and screamed and backed off, which was hilarious. She probably still has PTSD from that. Sucker was as big as she was. But Alicia did amazing getting that sucker to bite and getting it out of the hole, and especially very first fish of the day. Thing was just huge.
I was a proud husband, like I said before.
And watching Cody go all jujitsu on that catfish and using all these like special Kimura holds and different awesome techniques.
Yeah, on that, I was behind or next to Cody, I think, filming, and like I blinked, and all of a sudden Cody had his hands full, I thought, but he was somehow from hands full to down into on this fish. I watched the video later, and he was prepping, I could tell, but he did a good job on that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when she was pulling that fish out. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, holy cow. And I just saw the tail. I'm like, yeah, we can't let this thing get away.
Yeah, I had no clue it was going to be that big either. It's the way she acted when it was even getting bit, she would just, oh, I think I got it. And then, bam, she had something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're lying down in a creek with about 2 foot of water. I'm thinking, oh, it's not going to be a big fish. There's not enough water for it to be a big fish. We were wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit more too, but like I was surprised how when they did bite, it did not hurt. Like I figured it'd be a lot more forceful and actually hurt quite a bit more.
Yeah, there's always that anticipation, and even when they're describing it to you, I don't know what to expect, but it wasn't painful at all, just a little pressure. Now, we were wearing gloves just to, disclose that, I guess.
I'm sure the adrenaline was helping as well.
Adrenaline and liquid courage.
Yeah, but I think, in all honesty, there's not really pain with it as long as you probably have a glove on and don't have any health problems or something with your hand, broken bone or something.
Yeah, and it definitely helped having the guide find where the fish were at in the hole, too, honestly. I still would be terrified to go out just by myself and try this without having somebody that knows really what they're doing and helping us out.
Definitely.
Find them.
Paying for a guide, I would recommend it, especially one like Nate, right?
Yeah, worth every penny. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, actually, after the trip, I was kind of scrolling through YouTube, and the Sportsman channel had a big, Noodling documentary kind of on the tournament they do around there, and Nathan was in it, and he won the adult class with like a 50-some pound flathead, and then Jace, so his son that was out there guiding with us, he's 18 now, he was only either 12 or 13 at the time of his documentary. He won the kids division with like a 48 pound, and then his son River, who is now, I think he said 11, so it was around 6 at that time, got second place in the kids division with like a 43 pound fish.
Yeah, they all definitely have grown up around it, have a knack for it, and do a great job. Yeah, Jace was telling me that his dad has, he thinks, still the holding of the state record for the biggest catfish, so they definitely have experience.
Yep, 85 pound blue cat is what Nate told me. So, could you imagine? That's almost double the size of the one Alicia pulled out.
Yeah, that one might hurt your hand, I guess.
Alicia pulled out, like a 50-pound fish?
It's going to keep getting bigger as the year goes on.
It was huge, man.
So I know he said 40 to 45 pounds, so we went with 45. Seems more, and let's face it, with her holding it, well, in both the pictures we have with the girls, them holding the fish do make them look huge.
They do help, but they were big fish too, so, noodling is definitely a way to get big fish quick.
I think, if I had to guess, I probably had the biggest fish on rod and reel going into the trip, and I think we all crushed our personal best when it comes to fish. I had about 14 to 20 pounds was my biggest, somewhere in there.
Yeah, any cats I've caught have never been like that. I mean, I've had what I thought was big, but nothing.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, so I was doing some bass fishing the other day, and a big bass was around 3 pounds. Did we lose it? Okay. So yeah, a big fish was around 3 pounds for me the other day. So our biggest fish of the day was around a 10-pound catfish that Nate caught. So it's a whole new meaning to fishing.
Did it make you feel really sad pulling out them little babies? after catching like 50-pound fish.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we need to pause this, Josh? Or?
No, you're good.
Okay.
He's just having fun with the buttons.
All right. So after Alicia's fish there, we went to the next hole. Well, I should take that back. Nate said there was another fish in that hole. So Mike and Adrienne were getting ready to go after it, and it actually blew past the guide. And I don't know, one thing that I picked up with Nate, and I'm sure you guys picked up too, he hates letting a fish get away from him. You could tell how angry he was and mad. It was hilarious.
Yeah, every time one would get past him or we couldn't get to one because we couldn't reach it, you could tell he was frustrated, which you'd expect that when you're something that you do really well and you can't get something. I get it.
Yep, it was funny, which is funny because we're just releasing them too. It wasn't like we were eating them. So you just can't stand letting a fish get away from him.
I suppose when you do it every day for a living, it's it's hard to know you let one go.
So anyway, the next fish, and again, it was probably within an hour. It didn't take us very long to find the next fish, and it was all hands on deck. It was so Jace, Nate, and then us three, and we all three kind of had a hand in that one. He had to be 25, 30 pounds would be my guess. I think Mike and I got the hands on him first when I was watching back on the video. But in my opinion, that was more Josh's fish because you went and grabbed that belly and that upper jaw.
I say I had one hand, and I was like, I'm not getting this fish out on my own, not a chance.
Well, I just didn't know how many we were going to catch, and I just wanted to say that I was in on one, so I was like, let me in on this, and end up we had plenty of opportunities, but at the time I had no idea what it was going to be like, if it was, like hunting with Cody where he never comes back with anything, or...
I struggle sometimes. So, yeah, watching the video, like I had one. I had one hand in the gill. I think Mike had one hand on a gill.
Honestly, I had one like side lower jaw, but it was a weak grip. It was not a good grip. Sorry, I keep backing away from
No,
Mike.
you're good. You're good. But yeah, no, and yeah, Josh, you had that underneath the belly and then over top on that top jaw.
Weren't letting the fish go, right?
Yeah. But that was fun. We all got some good pictures with that one. End up moving up the creek, and then I think the next one was more the fish that you caught, Mike. If you want to kind of break that down at the log jam.
Yeah, so we kind of all started surrounding this log jam, and basically I think every single one of us was around it at first, because I had Adrienne and Alicia right next to me. You guys were on one side,
the opposite side.
Nate and Jace were on the other side trying to push it, trying to find it.
It was a big log jam that we had to have lots of holes to cover.
Did you guys feel it at all on your side? I don't even
Never
know.
felt it, no.
Okay, so I know with Alicia, Adrienne, and me on one side, Adrienne's in the middle, and it kept coming by and hitting us, and we kept feeling it, and then it would run right back in towards you guys. And every single time, we just couldn't get a grab on it, and Adrienne was getting terrified. Like, it just kept poking her.
Speaking of the devil.
Oh, she just showed up.
Come on in, Adrienne. We're just talking about you.
But
There's another seat by you.
so Adrienne kind of backed away a little bit, because we just couldn't get a grab on it, and it just kept running into us and going back. So Adrienne backed away, and I called for a little backup over on our side, and Cody ended up running over and jumping in next to me. And it kind of swam by, and I think you initially got it slowed down or pinned.
So I just felt the tail a couple times, and you told me, hey, it's on me, and I just remember kind of barely touching it, pushing it down, but you're the one who got the grip. I didn't get much.
Yeah, from my side, all I knew is when Adrienne screamed, then there must have been a fish over there. So, what were you feeling, Adrienne?
Talk right into the mic.
Terrified, literally the entire time.
So did you actually feel the fish?
Literally every time I got hit with a fish, I panicked. It's definitely not something I thought I'd ever do.
Push past your limits, right?
Right. Yes.
So how did you get convinced to go do this noodling?
100%, Michael. 100%.
Did you want to do it at all?
I mean, yeah, I'm down to always try something new.
But anyway, back to when we were catching it, yeah, Cody was getting it pinned, and he kind of had it kind of stalled out down at the bottom, and I just basically found its mouth and got a hold of that bottom jaw, and it didn't even bite me really hard at all. Like, I just got a really good grip on that bottom jaw, and then kind of as I lifted it up, cradled it with my left arm, and it's all she wrote. Probably biggest fish I definitely ever pulled out.
I was laughing because you were pumped, man. You were like just crazy how pumped you were when you pulled that fish out.
Didn't you name it?
Yeah, we don't want to worry about the
Okay,
name
just
for it.
checking.
That's fine. I was saying a lot of stupid stuff because I was really, really excited. Like, yeah, I was definitely, my heart was beating through my chest. Like, I was going nuts. Just like camping, it was intense.
So, as you can see, Mike gets excited. I will say this: so by the time you guys listen to this, the video will already be out. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. But the only editing that had to do with language-wise came from Mike. So, other than that, I didn't have to edit any language.
We'll get to the language part later. We haven't even gotten to that part
I'm
yet.
surprised.
I don't have a bleep button here.
I have to do a lot of editing later when I get to that part.
So Mike pulled that fish out. So that was probably, other than like guide, that was probably the most solo fish, which it took all of us.
I'd say it was still definitely a
Yeah.
team effort, 100% team effort.
Mhm. And that's one thing I was surprised about on this trip. So when I've watched a lot of Noodling videos before and after the trip, and most of the videos, it's one guy goes in a hole, one guy comes out with a fish. It's not a lot of team effort, it seemed like. This, like every fish was a team effort.
Well, I was already thinking about that. I thought when we go back, just when we go back, we need to make sure we got at least 5 or 6 people, and whoever ends up being like the main catcher, not the assisters, that's the guy that's stuck holding the camera for the next one, and we just keep passing it off like that, so that way we all can get more video and stuff of everything. But there were times where all 7 of us were in the water, and there's just no one to even hold a camera, because it took all 7 of us.
Yeah, luckily I was able to get every fish on video except Adrienne's, because we were all hands on deck on that one. So that was the only thing. I wish we had somebody to get that on video, but other than that, we got them all on video. So that was good. I think the next fish, was that the one that Nathan got on his own that we tried?
Yeah, I think so.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of go off of that, and I'll kind of start it off here and have one of these guys jump in. So this, there's this rock, and it's like a boulder, just almost like a square shaped boulder. It almost kind of reminded me of sitting out of the water. Nate dives down, he goes, "Yep, there's a fish, go get it, guys."
Yeah, this is our first underwater fish attempt here.
So all 3 of us dive underwater, trying to get it, and we could hear or feel what the angles were that he was talking about somewhat, but we could not. We never did feel the fish. At least I didn't. No. I'll kind of let you guys explain what you guys thought trying to reach your hand in that hole.
Well, he just asked, who has the longest arms here, and so Michael and I both tried, but he described how we should, I guess, try to reach it, and you had to go underwater and put your hand through this pretty small crevice with some light current, I'd say, but yeah, you just felt this opening and then could never feel like any ground or anything beyond that, and never got bit, and I just thought it was impossible.
Yeah, I couldn't even feel a fish, couldn't feel anything. I even had you guys, after my first attempt, pushing on my back to try to push me deeper into the sucker, and I had rocks just pushing into my shoulder because I could not get any deeper. I tried it twice laying on my stomach on the bottom, and I tried it once kind of on my side, and I just couldn't do it. I thought this just not possible without like a longer, even if the fish is, I just needed 1 extra inch. It's the guy's only problem every day in life. Had to do it.
So we, of course, we all tried multiple times, and then Nate goes underwater for 10 seconds, if that, and sure enough, comes out with a fish. He then tells us that, you have to pretty much go with your back against the bottom of the creek to get your angle.
Yeah, with your hand extended above your head to get that angle to where you can reach, I guess.
And it was, like I said, the smallest fish of the trip, probably only around 10 pounds, but still, it was super impressive that he was able to do that. I'm like, yep, that's why he's the guide and the professional.
Yes. It really ticked me off, too, because it was one of those, I just thought it was impossible. And then after you see that it's possible, I was just like, I would have done it 10 more times if I knew it was possible and I could have done it. After 3 attempts, I thought, no way. No, it's too deep. Not going to work.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, too, is there's just no reason to even try, because it's not possible.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I think, was the Beaver Dam. So, getting a lot of feedback. There we go. So, again, like I told you guys last time, there's a new equipment we're figuring out. Josh is
Yeah,
having a
somebody
fun
needs
day.
to get a little better at this.
We're working on it. But the next one was the beaver dam, which I actually didn't have any video of. But Nate was reaching under this dam. Sure enough, a beaver jumps out at him, and he goes, well, there's a beaver in here, but there's also a fish. So who's going to reach in? Good.
Yeah, he definitely goes, yeah, I'm about 80% sure the beaver's gone after a little while. And I go, well, I'm 100% sure I'm not trying this one.
Yeah,
Good
so
luck.
for that, I was watching Jace, and he was slowly exiting the water, and I'm like, I'm following him.
It's basically just Nate standing there with this huge long
Yeah,
area where
Nate
the
was
fish can
really
run.
the only one left in the water when I was looking around, and Nate, but
Yep. Yeah, it was fun. Like I said, we think the fish blew out. We didn't get that one, which you could tell again it bothered him.
Yeah,
So
we did eventually get into the water. After he was confirming that the beaver was gone, we did eventually get in, but by then I think it was a little too late. So did the catfish, was took off.
and then I think the next one is the claustrophobic one, which I can tell you guys I did not like. I didn't think I was claustrophobic at all. I've never really had an experience like that made me feel that way. First time you guys showed me in that water, and only thing that wasn't in that hole was my ankles. I slightly freaked out.
I'll say you went first too, right? Yeah, because then it was Cody, then Josh, I think.
no, I think it was Cody than you, because you went under the rock the wrong way the first time.
Okay, yeah. First time I went under, I thought I was going to die. I basically, my very first attempt, went under there, and I could feel the rock on my back and the ground on my chest, and I just like, well, I'm a drowned. Here we go. Like it's been a good run. I've had a good 31 years, whatever. I just thought it was over. And then I think Josh made I think you made 2 attempts.
Yeah, I did 2 back-to-back attempts, so the first time, I guess we haven't really described how this rock was, but it started with there's a big rock on your right, and that to the left of the rock is an opening which goes underneath the shoreline, I guess, into a cavernous opening. But to get to it, basically, I'm 6 foot, so I had to go in past my waist to get to even where I could even begin to reach into this opening where the fish was at. And so the only way to get to there was for your buddies to shove you with your ankles into this hole where you're trying to reach with both hands to get to the fish. And to make it work, you had to basically reach, and then once you had the fish that bit you, you're supposed to shake your ankles, and they were going to pull you out. So it was complete trust on your partners or your friends or whoever had your ankles that, 1, they knew what you needed, and 2, they were going to get you out without getting caught on something or whatever.
And I know Mike and I both end up getting bloody heads from this coming out. So
I was going to get to it after you got through all my last attempt.
Yeah, so I didn't get the fish out, but I did get bit. So my attempt got shoved in, reaching around blindly in the dark, felt the fish bite. I grabbed it, started to pull, and then as soon as I started to pull with my hand, I wasn't even coming out yet. It just rotated off. I never got it calmed back down, but at that point I needed some more air. So I came back out, and then, of course, my adrenaline was going pretty well then, and they're saying, let's go back in. I'm like, okay, but hold on a second. So I tried again. Didn't last as long underneath the water. Couldn't find the fish, and we had to get moving. So Michael took over.
All right, so I knew these guys had failed. They were looking up to me, so I knew it was my time. It was my time to shine. This was it. All eyes were on me. I didn't want to lose everyone's respect. So I gave my wife one last look, saying I love her, letting her know this could be it, but I was going to get that fish. So I talked to Nate, kind of tried to help figure out the path down there. He told me first time I went down, I was too far to the right. I had to work to the left a little bit. There was more of an opening. So I take that deep breath. Nothing but darkness as I go down into this deep black abyss. You can see nothing. As I go down, I can feel it pressure on me with the rock in my back again. I go, no, I'm in the wrong spot. So I start correcting over to my left, and I feel the opening getting deeper. Oh my God. Sorry, my heart's going just thinking about it. So here I am going through this black labyrinth of death. Can't breathe. Reaching around blindly. I can feel them trying to hold my ankles and push me deeper through it as I navigate this maze. All of a sudden, as I'm reaching out, I feel it. Something slimy that moves in front of me. It's either a catfish or it's the slimy hand of death reaching out to embrace me and take me to the next life. Either way, I'm going to take it. Just going to grab it, and we're going to see what happens. So I'm reaching around. All the hair on the back of my neck stands up as I feel it. Bam! Gets me. One bite on my hand. I panic. I jerk back a little. They had to have known I had a bite because I jerked. I had a huge gash in the back of my head as I hit it on the rock. Blood oozing out. It was rough. The water around me turning dark red from the blood. I put my hand back out to grab the catfish. At this point, I've been under there at least 3 minutes, I'm sure. It's no lie. Maybe longer. It's hard to say. I'm not worried about that. Guinness Book of Record for holding breath, not a big deal. So I put it back out. Bam, bam! Bites me 2 more times. Still wrestling with this fish. Don't know if I'm going to get it, but I know I can't let my friends down. My wife would never be able to look at me again in the eye if I couldn't pull this catfish out. Finally, one final time. Bam! Gets me a 4th time. But this time I'm ready, and I grab its bottom jaw with all my might. Got a death grip on it. Kick my legs just a little because I don't want to shake too much. Probably the biggest fish on the planet. I'm guessing 90 to 100 pounds. It's hard to say. But they start dragging me out. Now I'm scared. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm very scared at this point. So I'm trying to use my left hand to pull myself out of the hole while holding onto the fish with my right hand. Now as I'm going, the water's getting a little less bloody at this point because we're getting away from where my head was gashed open and the water was soaked with blood. So I'm starting to see a little bit of daylight. Bring my left hand forward. Right when I'm getting ready, the fish is coming out calm. I think I've got this monster. Next thing I know, it thrashes and we're wrestling. The fight is on. I've been underwater about 5 minutes at this point. Losing oxygen.
I don't know if I got enough memory on the SD card for this.
So we're fighting underwater. We're going at it for a good 20 or 30 seconds. And I'm losing oxygen. But I get it all the way out of the hole. I can see daylight above me. I start going towards the light up above me, thinking I'm going to try to hold this with all my might. If I can get it above water, hopefully my friends can help me restrain this monster that is just thrashing and battling and breaking my fingers because I can feel my bones cracking. As I get it up towards the water, it gives one final thrash that is just pure power coming from this beast. And unfortunately, I lose my grip. But I succeeded in getting the fish completely out of this labyrinth, this hole, this death trap. And as I got it out as a successful human man, my friends failed and couldn't catch it. But that was their fault.
Yeah, so I'm pulling on Michael's feet after the 5 minutes of him being underwater, having no clue how he could even still be alive. But he came out very calm. I didn't even know if he had the fish, to be honest. Let's be real. But the blood, we saw that something was wrong.
My video may have caught something a little different, but camera angles wasn't the right.
You couldn't see under the water. That was part of it too. It's pitch black in that labyrinth.
And I've been recording it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has that glare from the sun on the water. You just can't see.
Pretty sure the video edits out like 4 minutes to fight. Or like 4.5. It's hard to say.
Did you see the fish on video?
We did not, unfortunately, so at least you didn't have that angle.
No, it was too big. I'm pretty sure it literally just burrowed another hole somewhere and made a new Grand Canyon because it was that big.
So where did the fish go, Michael?
It escaped downstream, and I watched you guys fail as you went and tried to circle around it to catch it, and you guys failed after I succeeded.
I did see the fish. It was quite large.
That's the way I remember it.
It was a big fish. So did you see it?
I definitely saw it. Yeah.
When it turned around and faced us?
Yeah, I thought we got this thing, and I thought, wow, and Michael's, don't let me down, and I'm like, we got it.
Yeah, I was like,
that thing's like, you're not catching me.
It was
You're
huge.
not.
So it actually bit me. I don't. You guys probably can't see it in the video or anything, but it actually bit me all the way. You can still see the red mark on my wrist. It had me all the way up to there on my arm. If you guys can see, it's about 3 or 4 inches down my wrist where it got me, and it was past my glove.
Yeah, Nate told us, use both hands, but it was difficult to trust, I guess, to put both hands forward and not have that escape hand to get yourself out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, when it turned and faced us, I was like, oh, dang, that's a big fish. I'm sure it had to be around that 45-pound mark, if not bigger. I really have no idea where it went so myself, Jace, and Josh all went after it. Jace and I had a wall forming back towards where Mike was, and Josh was in front of it. And and it's crazy. It's not that deep of water, and it just disappeared on us.
Yeah, it just did not want to be caught. Like, yeah, we thought we had it cornered. Even Jace, I think, thought it's somewhere in here, and it was gone.
Yeah, so we have no idea where that fish went. Which again, yeah, we all kind of sad that it got away. Yeah, but Nate's like, what do you mean it got away? Like, he was not happy.
Yeah.
But and that's where a lot of my editing I had to do language wise was on that part of the trip.
I was less than pleased that sucker could break my death grip on its mouth. I thought I had a really, really good grip on it, and it was not thrashing at all until I got out into some of the daylight water out of the complete... Like, yeah, after I got out of that Black Canyon, freaking, it did not thrash at all until I got out. And I thought, I got plenty of time to get my other arm up here, and I highly underestimated that fish. That thing just...
Yeah, the power of a catfish.
Yeah, it won that day. Against you guys. I got it out of the hole.
So I think after that, it took us a little while before we found fish again. But then we found the hole where we ended up pulling 2 fish at. It was kind of fun. So again, they were under a log jam. Adrienne was filming for us. The rest of us, like Alicia, had her feet in trying to block a hole. We had Nate was actually diving underneath the water trying to scare those fish. I had Mike to the right of me, myself, and then Josh was to the left, but then you actually went over to help Jace because that's where Nate thought that fish was going to come out of.
Yeah, and there's a pretty big gap hole over there, so I guess got put in that whole area where the fish ended up coming out of, and I have no idea how you're supposed to catch a slimy fish that's coming full force out of a tree dam.
So when I'm watching that video, so it comes over and hits me first, and so I had my belly to the ground like Nate wanted, and actually like almost like rams its head into my chest. So as it hits, I kind of reach to grab it, and it's gone already. So I was like, dang it, and I'm trying to reach, can't find it. About that time, and on the video, you can see where it hits you, and like the tail comes out of the water in between you and Jace.
Yeah, and it's just like right over my shoulder, and it didn't even go down. I was thinking the fish was going to go like lower into my belly or something, but it just like went over my shoulder, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And that's when all hell broke loose then. So Josh, myself, and Mike we were running and chasing. It was funny.
I didn't even know we were chasing at first because I heard screaming, like you guys just over there like little girls panicking. The next thing I know, you're running away from the hole. I didn't know I honestly did not realize you were chasing a fish for the first few seconds.
It was intense.
Yeah, I didn't know they were chasing a fish. I thought they were running from something. Like I was like, oh my God.
Should I be moving or what's going on?
Yeah, it took me a second to realize they were actually chasing a fish, and I needed to go like try to help because I didn't get what was going on.
And once again, I thought we had it riled in a little corner with laying down, but started looking around and realized we don't have it anymore. And then I don't know how I saw it, but I just looked upriver, and it was very shallow where it was at, and I could see its body just swimming upriver and creating a little ripple.
Yep. So then we all chased it and tried to trap it. I think we each probably had a hand on it once or twice and wasn't able to get it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then finally, Josh and Mike kind of formed a wall, and it started coming back towards me. About the same time that I jumped and I got like a hand in its mouth, Josh jumped on it, kind of helped crush the body some.
I was just following directions.
I just got tail whipped in the face.
So luckily we were able to get that one out, and that was a good fish. If I had to guess, around that 35-pound mark, if I had to guess.
Yeah, so that hole had a second one, right? So Nate actually stayed over there for us while we were doing our thing and getting that fish, and kept the hole shut up for us for the next fish.
Which, that next fish, we had, say it did the same game plan and everything, and it did the exact same thing.
Yeah, I failed again. I don't know how you do that still.
We were quicker on the second one, though, for everyone to get over there. Everybody got it surrounded, though, which was good.
Yeah, so we had it kind of underneath this smaller log jam, and actually I was able to see it through the, kind of through a gap here, and that's when Adrienne was the only one that hadn't caught a fish yet. So, she came up, I pointed out to her, and let her take over from here.
Tell us your story of death.
I don't know if it's a story of death or not, but I was not going underwater this whole time. I was terrified. But they were able to kind of scare this fish into a fallen tree. And it kind of got wedged in between a couple of fallen trees. And you could just see where this fish was kind of sticking up out of the water a little bit. And it really didn't have a lot of area to go. So I kind of climbed into the trees where it was wedged in and was able to get my hands in its mouth. I think Cody was right behind it, kind of holding behind its tail to make sure it didn't swim backwards. And finally, I was able to wrangle up one that day. But then they're like, oh, just pull it out. It'll be fine. And I was stuck because I had wedged myself in there too. So that's how I ended up with a few bruises and scratches on my legs that day, because it wasn't just pulling it straight back out after I got in there. But I was definitely not going underwater, but that was probably, I think, the easiest catch in my consideration of easier catches for the day.
I don't know if I'd even say it was easy. It took 7 of us to surround it and wrangle it.
Mm-hmm. It didn't want to be caught.
Yeah, that it didn't. But I was proud. Pulled out bigger fish than besides the big 100-pounder I pulled out of that crevice that we couldn't get. But minus that one, you got bigger fish than me. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. I was happy to see it. And I was glad you were willing to jump in, because I know that first fish kind of scared you a little bit. That came out at you and Alicia. So I
was not prepared for that. No.
Yeah, so I noticed
that tail right in my face. Nope.
I noticed after that one you were a little more timid about jumping in with them. So I was very happy to see that you were willing to jump in on that one and help out and get some hands in there and pull one out. So I liked seeing that.
Yeah, I think we were all pretty proud of you. But Mike, I could tell he's a proud husband right now.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing I didn't have in the video either. What I liked about Nate is he knows how to show those fish off. So they are big fish. Like, we're not trying to tell you they're not, because they are big fish. But he's like, hey, hold it this way. Makes them look even bigger. and then he was able to set up. That's probably one of my favorite photos we had of the trip, was all 5 of us with you and Alicia holding that fish, both fish. That turned out a really good picture.
Those 2 big ones, that we caught right at the end, yeah.
That was my favorite too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that wasn't actually the end. That was just the end of our fish.
Last ones we caught.
Right. Yeah.
We had a long trip ahead of us still.
So we're probably only, at that time, we're maybe halfway through our hike.
We were probably over half, but we still had at least 2.5, 3 hours left. We had ways left.
Mm-hmm. So essentially that was a little over the first half of our trip, and we kept walking up creek, and we did not find another fish until the very end, and Alicia was only the small enough one that could kind of reach in and get it. They were trying to get her to dive head first, and she's like, yeah, I'm not diving. But they had her, we kind of talked about it on the last podcast too, but they had her all the way, only her nose and mouth was like above water, sticking her hands or her feet all the way in the back, and she never did feel the fish. And Nate could only feel the fish with a long stick.
Yeah, it was a long stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was nuts how deep that fish was, which you could tell. Again, it was funny because he was still bothered by, dang it, we can't get that fish.
They're talking about, like, can we just, break up this thing here or dig this out and get in this way? And
I think that was the only actual fish that Nate could literally not get that day on his own.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, otherwise he'd have gotten every single one on his own and just rocked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they said, he's like, yeah, if my son River was here, he would have went right after it. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, that kind of summed up our trip. After that, we had probably an hour or less hike still. I know we were all pretty physically exhausted, which Nate asked me before we went, like the week of the trip. He sent me a text saying, hey, are you guys at all in decent shape? I'm thinking about doing creeks, which I was like, yeah, we're all in decent shape. And actually, like, a lot of the videos which I had sent to you guys, a lot of it was creek fishing. I think we were all kind of hoping for that too, less diving underwater and stuff. And so I told him that, and he's like, okay, good. But I will say this. First thing, obviously highly recommend going with him. But if you are going to do the creek fishing, be in shape. So,
yeah.
And drink some water.
Yeah.
Yes, and like I said, I talked about the other one. I ended up getting sick afterwards. So, because I I drank like 0 water throughout the day, and somehow my body found some stuff to puke up at the end. So it was not fun. Don't be dumb like me.
Probably the Buzz Light.
might have been.
Bud Light.
Yeah, that's all I had full drink wise on the trip.
I just hydrated with Coors Light the whole way. I managed. I think you're just a sissy.
So we know the superior beer now, right?
Well, we knew I was superior when I made it in that hole.
Fair enough. I have no argument. Like I said,
Light beer, mostly water anyway.
Yeah.
You hydrated.
Yeah, so kind of final thoughts on the trip. I'm gonna start with ladies first. Just kind of your final thoughts on everything, and then we'll just go around the table.
My final thoughts is, like I said, it's not something I would have ever done, but I had a really good time. I still haven't committed if I'd ever do it again, but it's not something that I'd ever rule out doing again. So definitely recommend it. Something to check off the bucket list.
I agree with the bucket list comment. I would highly recommend doing it if you've ever thought about wanting to noodle. Definitely give it a try, but find a guide, go down, take the trip to Oklahoma, meet up with Nate, and he'll have you a good time.
That working? All right. Yeah, absolutely loved it. I would like to go again. Originally, when I was going, I expected, I'm going to do this one time, check it off my bucket list. I liked it so much, I would definitely go again. As long as we had a group of at least 5 again, I would be willing to do it. Like, just so that way we can have people taking pictures and holding the camera, and we still have enough people to also get in the water. Because when it took all 7 of us, I thought, man, if we had 1 or 2 more people, this would even be better. So,
because we were, not the most professional, but
which I don't expect us to be. So I don't expect to get a bunch of professionals out there. That's the whole point, is having a guide and going down there. But
that made it more fun too.
Yeah, saying we had a really good time. I still enjoyed walking down the creek, and you still found different animals and turtles and different things in the creek. And
yeah, probably gave Nate some good stuff to watch. Just mess around and act a fool. Yeah, make fun of us.
Yeah. But great time. Yeah, absolutely loved it. 100% recommend doing it. I'm very confident I'm going to try to get some people going next year if we can that were interested this year but kind of scared. I think we might be able to talk them into doing it next year after they've seen some of the videos and pictures, and hopefully it works out and we can go back. So.
So to go off of that, I will definitely be going back next year. So this open invite to all 3 of you right now. So if you guys want to come, that'd be awesome. But we'll invite a few others. Like I said, we'll definitely be back. It's pretty quiet right now.
You're good.
There? Okay. So definitely be back. Honestly, I'm thinking about, I know some spots around here now that I have a very weak idea what I'm looking for.
I'll go watch you.
That's fine. That's fine. So there might be a couple spots I might try down here. I think I'm hooked. I had a lot of fun.
I've thought about that. Like, do I want to try it by ourselves or not? But it was very nice to have a guide who would help us, guide us, find us, show us the holes, safe spots.
So again, can't recommend Adrenaline Rush Noodling Guide Service anymore. Nate was awesome. So was his son Jace. I really appreciate conning you guys into coming with me. So, to be fair, I thought I could get Mike to go. I did not think I could get you 2 to go, to be honest with you. Especially, that's why I didn't invite you that first time. I was like, there's no way Josh is going to want to do this.
It was good. It's great.
So I was pleasantly surprised that you wanted to go, and it was a blast. I had fun with you guys. Appreciate the content. I've enjoyed editing the video, so you guys will be able to see that hopefully tomorrow. I'll have you guys the link so you guys can watch it.
And then we can give constructive criticism, help you fix it.
Yeah. Good. I got to add some more weight to Shepherd's fish.
Yeah.
So
photoshopping.
But
800 pounds.
The fish are going to keep getting bigger and bigger. But other than that, thanks for doing the podcast, guys. And this was the Thin Blue Line podcast, episode 9. So we're doing good. If you like this, and like I said, we're going to keep improving. But if you like this, go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a review. You can find this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so forth and so on. All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
All right. We're out here ready to do some noodling.
Where do you want me to put my I got it.
You got it?
You got his mouth? I got it.
Come on, babe.
I got it by the mouth.
Okay.
There, yep. You do? Yep. There, I don't have